Right now at 5, a Long Island home health care office reacting after a troubling case of elder abuse. The arrest tonight in the stabbing of an 84-year-old Massapequa woman.
And the wet weather spreading across the tri-state area tonight. Heavy rain on the roads. What else to expect on this first alert weather day? Good evening. I'm Christine Johnson.
Welcome back. I'm Dick Brennan. Let's get to Lonnie Quinn on this really miserable afternoon. Heavy rains. Right. What do we got going now, Lonnie? You can't see anything.
You're right. I mean, you can kind of see maybe a little bit, not much though, Dick. You're right. I mean, look, low cloud cover out there, but yeah, that's New York City. A bunch of our buildings out there. Cloud cover, yes, certainly throughout the area. Rain, yes, but the heaviest rain right now, it's still off to the east. It is 61 degrees as we speak. So we were concerned about 3 different things with this day, and they all unfortunately played out. Number 1, rainfall. We thought we'd see kind of widespread 1 to 2 inches. Well, you know what? We saw a 3-inch reading in Boonton, New Jersey, Montville, New Jersey, 2.8, Matawan, 2.1, Newark, New Jersey, a record for the date at 1.9, Central Park, a record for the date at 1.8. So that's the rain problem that we had today. There's been certainly some freshwater flooding out there, but we were also concerned about those winds and max winds. LaGuardia had a 46-mile-per-hour gust. Bridgeport, the biggest number portrayed on this map, had a 48-mile-per-hour gust. We had some trees down in portions of New Jersey as well. We had damage out there. It's the type of wind that caused problems, and you're going to get the same sort of thing tomorrow. But we were also concerned about those winds coming in off the water, giving us some coastal flooding. And look at your storm reports that are out there. All of those that you see right there clustered are storm reports regarding coastal flooding. And we had it in Seaside Heights, had it in Toms River, had it in Lavalette, have it in Lanoka Harbor as well. You get to Route 35, and that's not right on the water. I mean, that's over 2 feet of inundation that we had. Currently, heaviest rain, you see it right here, stretching from Suffolk County into Fairfield County. In Suffolk County, basically, you're talking Smithtown, Coram, Miller Place, over towards Fire Island and Islip. You've got a band of moderately heavy rain, but it continues over Long Island Sound, and pay no attention to that. That's a little missed data right there. But anywhere from, say, Westport, Norwalk, pushing up towards Ridgefield, Connecticut, that's some heavy rain there as well. Easton, you're tapping into that as well. Basically, by the time you get to 10:30 tonight, there's still some rain out there, some leftover rain, but it's not as heavy. 51 degrees, your overnight low, still blustery. Now, tomorrow, the winds are blustery again. Today, we had wind advisories for Monmouth and Ocean County. Tomorrow, it's everybody with a chance to see 30 to 50 mile per hour gusts. So we have issued a first alert weather day, unfortunately, for Halloween because of that wind combined with saturated ground. So you're not picking up the rain tomorrow. There's no rain, but those winds could maybe bring a tree down, maybe cause some power outages, do some damage. Spooky winds tomorrow, all part of the forecast. High temp 56. Kids are trick-or-treating for the most part in the lower 50s to upper 40s. I'd dress them warmly enough tomorrow. It is a first alert day for Halloween. I hate to say that, but I know you're going to trick-or-treat. I'll be trick-or-treating with my girls. The weekend looks pretty good. We'll talk more about this extended forecast coming up. Also, your election day forecast. It's all coming up a little bit later in the show, but right now, guys, it's all yours.
Okay, Lonnie, thank you. Thousands without power across the tri-state right now. New Jersey taking the biggest hit with more than 10,000 customers without power between Jersey Central Power and Light and also PSE&G. Between 1,600 and 1,800 customers on Long Island and throughout the city are now in the dark, and just under 300 people between Orange and Rockland counties are without power. Do stay with our First Alert weather team for the very latest on weather conditions. You can track live weather anytime at CBSNewYork.com.
An update to a vicious elderly abuse story we first brought to you yesterday. There has now been an arrest in the stabbing of an 84-year-old Massapequa woman.
Jennifer McLogan reports the suspect is a home health aide from Queens who worked inside the victim's home.
CBS News New York has confirmed a home health aide wanted in the gruesome Massapequa stabbing of an 84-year-old woman in her care worked out of Aids at Home. Managers in the Hicksville office call this tragedy an isolated incident.
The investigation is ongoing. We're cooperating fully.
Students at Birch Lane Elementary and Massapequa High School were back in the classroom. They had been on precautionary lockdown Wednesday as police searched the area for the overnight aide who allegedly crawled into bed with the elderly victim and stabbed her once in the chest. The victim's family said their security cameras inside and outside the home show the crime unfolding, including a bloody knife. Then the aide attempting to drive away, ultimately crashing into the front walkway of the home. The senior citizen now in serious critical condition. 23-year-old Amanda Frazier of South Richmond Hills, Queens, is now in police custody, charged with second-degree attempted murder. Suspect Amanda Frazier is undergoing psychiatric evaluation here and will be arraigned when medically practical. There is sorrow and shock among neighbors and community residents.
She had dementia, and her daytime helper would sit out on the lawn with her, and, she wouldn't speak at all.
I think we can all relate to it. I think we all need help, assistance with people, and we really just hope that she makes it.
Victim Wendy Wilson turns 85 in November, her family at her bedside as she recovers. On Long Island, Jennifer McLogan, CBS News, New York.
We reached out to the New York State Health Department, which oversees AIDS at home. They said there has been no enforcement actions in the past 10 years.
Well, there's a new effort to prevent harassment of rent-regulated tenants in New York. The Manhattan District Attorney and New York lawmakers announced new legislation today. Landlords who engage in a systematic, ongoing course of conduct across multiple properties could now be charged with a new Class D felony, aggravated harassment of a rent-regulated tenant. Under current law, harassing 2 or more tenants in a single building to induce them to leave their homes is considered a Class E felony.
New enhanced penalty would get us as prosecutors the ability to get relief for many more tenants under duress, while at the same time getting accountability, heightened accountability for unscrupulous individuals engaging in this conduct.
Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's office has also created the Tenant and Housing Protection Unit to address tenant harassment.
New York City Council's passed legislation that will require all city gun stores to display graphic images to convey the potential dangers of guns in the home. The bill is inspired by cigarette warning labels used around the world.
On the wall of that store, they're going to see a photograph of a baby pulling a handgun out of a drawer next to the bed. And it just might get them to think twice about that purchase.
Now, advocates say they hope this policy will serve as a model for the entire country.
He's not the former New York mayor, but that didn't stop a Long Island man from being quoted by a major newspaper overseas.
My phone starts blowing up. My friend's like, dude, it was in the London Times, but they pulled the article after 2 hours.
The story behind this international identity mix-up.
And as votes continue to pour in, the mayoral candidates are bracing for next week's results. We hear from voters about their concerns over public safety and which candidate they believe is best equipped to address them. The polls officially open and close next Tuesday, and with the mayor's race tightening, every vote counts. So what does the public think? 6 voters evenly split among the 3 candidates and 2 still undecided. Sit down with Jessica Moore to discuss the key issues shaping this year's mayoral election.
Yesterday, we discussed affordability. Today, we're focused on public safety and which candidate they believe has the strongest plan to keep New Yorkers safe.
In a city of 8 million people, safety is always going to be a huge concern. What makes your candidate the best candidate to make New York City safer?
Mr. Sliwa, who has literally his entire adult life has been dedicated to being a good Samaritan in a patrol group, basically, with the Guardian Angels, and it's why we kind of all know him. It's why he's a local celebrity.
Cuomo wants to add 5,000 more officers. Sliwa wants to add 7,000 more officers. So obviously both of those candidates are prioritizing the number of police on the streets.
One of the reasons why I am voting for Cuomo, because he plans to hire thousands of new cops.
We could deploy as much police officers as we want. However, if they're not sure what they're going to execute, it's not going to be beneficial to any of us. I also believe that positioning police on the subway isn't necessarily facilitating the best result we want. They have to be trained to know how to deal with a specific situation.
I was in the Marine Corps before. I know what patrolling looks like, and police officers don't really do anything but stand on the phones and just stay there. They criminalize poverty.
You're in favor of Mamdani's plan to have social workers respond to domestic violence calls?
I do believe so. In some instances,
I actually think it's absurd and offensive that Mamdani wants to send social workers to domestic violence scenes. I don't think a woman who is being attacked by a man wants a social worker there. I think they want police present.
I would not have wanted only a social worker to show up to a situation where my roommate threatened to smash my head into the sidewalk because I asked him to pay his bills. I wanted the police to come The police did come. We need more police officers. We probably need to pay them more, and we need to give them more training.
Across the city, we have revolving door justice. So a cop can arrest and bring someone in, but if the charges don't stick and if there's not a criminal justice process that actually brings about accountability, then there's nothing the cops can do.
You're talking about bail reform, it sounds like.
Exactly,
which is above the mayoral level,
exactly.
but still
but
a
who
relevant
was governor
point.
when there was bail reform, and who also advocated for bail reform? The other two candidates in this race that were not Mr. Sliwa.
You don't know when to depend on police and when to not depend on police due to their presence and their implementation of certain policies.
Although I am voting for Zohran Mamdani, I don't believe there should be something like another Daniel Penny situation where somebody does stand up and then they get criminalized for it because they're kind of not making it easier for anybody to stand up for anybody.
You know, I have a wife and kids. My job's to go home to them.
Let me just check in with Billy. And you're undecided, I know. Has anything you've heard so far sort of made you think twice or sort of lean toward one candidate or another?
Also being in the military, I've heard the rah-rah speech from like both sides of the party. So for me, it's not very like, wow, this is life-changing. For me, it's like, I've seen it, we've heard these speeches before, but will they actually do it? Or is it a matter as soon as they get office, they're like, all right, the people voted me, thank you. See you guys in 4 years when I gotta like redo this again.
And we'll have more from our panel tomorrow. We'll get their take on how political experience is factoring into their vote.
Royal drama in London. King Charles kicking Prince Andrew out of his mansion and taking away his titles. The new controversy as Andrew's ties to Epstein explode again.
And our First Alert weather team coverage continues. Cars here stranded as water flows down streets. When we could see a slowdown in all of this rain, next.
Breaking news out of the United Kingdom this evening. King Charles has stripped his brother Andrew of all remaining titles and is evicting him from his royal residence.
And this move follows revelations about Andrew's relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Joining us live from England is Julian Payne, the former communications secretary to King Charles and Queen Camilla. Julian, good to see you and thanks for joining us. Tell us how we got here first and just how serious a statement this is from Buckingham Palace.
Well, these issues have been building for some time, but it was really the emergence of the email that suggested Andrew, as he is now known, had continued to have relationships with Epstein after he said he'd broken them off in December 2010. The moves that you see here today are absolutely unprecedented. That statement is something that hasn't been seen from the palace in many, many years. It's a very, very significant step.
Julian, we know that this has been going on for quite some time, years even. Is there a sense that, okay, this is just enough, or perhaps the idea that what took so long?
I think that the king is the person who has been driving this, and he is acutely aware that the public has not been satisfied with the steps that have been taken. He has now pulled every lever that is available to him. His brother Andrew no longer lives in this grace and favour home. He no longer has any of those titles. There is nothing left for him to be able to do at this stage.
Julian, any idea of what's next then for Andrew? Does he have any support privately amongst his friends, any family members? And should we expect him to speak out in any capacity?
I think it's highly unlikely you will hear from him directly at this stage. Of course, he has his daughters and his wife, his former wife, who no doubt will be supporting him. But I think the words from the palace will be the last ones that we'll hear on this matter for a little while to come.
Okay. Julian Payne, thank you so much. If not from the palace, we'll be hearing from around the world on this story. Thanks again.
Thanks, Julian. Let's move on to our forecast now. It's our top story today. We've been seeing some heavy rounds of rain through, it started last night. In my neck of the woods.
But then intensified. And wouldn't you guys agree with me that this was every bit of the storm that we had when we were talking about our smaller nor'easter that we dealt with kicking off the season?
Yeah, and the rain in the afternoon. The rain in the afternoon was really bad. I mean, it really went.
Oh, it was coming down crazy today. On my drive into work was really rough out there. Still some folks picking up some heavier rain. I'll show you though in New York City. As you look down into Times Square, the worst for New York City, at least for the Times Square area, is behind them because the heavier rain has made its move out to the east, and that's where we still find some trouble spots. I mean, temperatures have been just fine today for this time of the year, 61 degrees, but nobody's talking about temperatures when you've got trees down and you had some flash flooding out there. Here's the picture. This is the line of heavy rain. It stretches anywhere from Fire Island into, say, the very central spine of Suffolk County, then across the Sound into Fairfield County, a little bit into Putnam and Dutchess County as well. That's where the worst weather is, and lo and behold, it's right within that column that we find the troubles that are out there. We still have some flood advisories. The latest one stays in effect, I guess, the farther north you go, until 7:15 tonight. So flash flooding, or at least flooding, is still a possibility out there. We had a flash flood warning in New York City. I'll show you some video of that in just a bit, but let's talk about the winds, because winds were a big player today. Trees down. I've got some video of that as well. Right now, they've backed down for a lot of folks, except Greenwich, Connecticut, still showing a 40-mile-per-hour gust. Everybody else, it's the 20s out there, and some folks, even below that. So winds not as plentiful, but they're in the process of backing down. Still have flight departures. And boy, these are some sizable flight departure delays. I mean, 4 to 5 hours at all of our major airports out there. That's what's in effect as of right now. So what do we expect? Well, the rain will end tonight. The winds, they decrease as you go through the overnight hours into late morning. But after, say, 11 o'clock in the morning, the winds start picking up again. Halloween winds look to be as strong as what you saw today. They did some damage out there today, and there's another chance that we could see some damage, and that's why we've issued a first alert for your holiday. All right, when I say Halloween, I'm referring to it as a holiday because my kids say it's their second favorite holiday. Here's how we see it. The gusts tomorrow, 30 to 50 miles per hour. Again, I think it's the second half of the day as opposed to the early morning hours. The ground this time, though, is saturated as opposed to what we dealt with today. Some areas seen over 3 inches of rain, so trees could come down or a limb. There could be some damage. Some power outages are possible as well. And here's the difference between between today and tomorrow. Today, we had wind advisories in Monmouth and Ocean County. Tomorrow, National Weather Service says, hold on. Anybody has a chance to see some 50-mile-per-hour winds out there. So a first alert for Halloween. Temperature about 56 degrees, but with the temperatures dropping into the nighttime hours, after the sun drops, your lower 50s, maybe upper 40s with a stiff wind out there. Just listen, hold on to your kids. How about that? Then you get to the weekend. The wind will be in the process of dying down as you push through Saturday into Sunday. Temperatures in the upper 50s with the sun and cloud mix. And across the board, we look to be in the upper 50s. And right now for Election Day, I don't see any excuses while anybody can say, oh, I couldn't get out to vote, because I don't see that happening.
That's good news.
Yep.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Next, imagine sharing your name with one of New York's past political leaders, Mayor de Blasio.
It's been brutal having the same name as the ex-mayor.
We hear from one man after an identity mix-up with the London Times. Then at 6.
Good choice to wake up, and how am I going to spend my time?
This marathon runner on a mission to cross the finish line, not just this weekend, but for 6 of the hardest races worldwide. What's behind his motivation? Call it a case of mistaken identity. A newspaper reporter in London confused former Mayor Bill de Blasio with the Bill de Blasio of Huntington, Long Island, because there is one, and the ensuing interview prompted a not-so-serious international political incident.
It's been brutal having the same name as the ex-mayor, especially an unpopular one. It's been entertaining. I think I've handled it with humor and had some fun with it over the years.
Bill de Blasio of Huntington, Long Island, has had the name longer than the former mayor, but it was his email address bearing that name that got his opinion of Zoran Mamdani onto the pages of the Times of London. A reporter reached out via email, and the wine importer decided to have fun, lightheartedly obliging the reporter and sharing some criticisms of Mamdani.
I never said I was the mayor. He sent it to Mr. de Blasio, and I replied as Bill de Blasio. I spelled my name properly, no small d, the big D, the way my grandparents told us that we were supposed to spell our name.
The paper said they retracted the story after discovering that our reporter had been misled by an individual falsely claiming to be the former New York mayor.
I just can't believe that, I hate to call them lazy, but they didn't check. And he didn't address me as mayor. A little bit of sloppy reporting, obviously they didn't vet me out. I never thought it would make it that far.
The man truly surprised former Mayor Bill de Blasio, a major Mamdani supporter.
This is what's so weird. I have people still reaching out to me saying, oh, I see you're changing your mind. I'm like, no, I never did. It literally was a surreal feeling. I'm looking at a headline. I'm looking at a quote. A newspaper I never spoke to, a journalist I never contacted.
Huntington's de Blasio said this is nothing new. The Long Island resident says he's learned to play along.
I've been to charity golf outings, and it was a bunch of firemen and cops, and they were like, oh, longest drive, Bill de Blasio, and I've been booed. They'd start booing, boo.
The two actually met at a Mets game.
He says to me, he goes, so how bad is it having the same name as me? And I said, dude, you're killing me. And he paused for like a second, like he was taken aback. He didn't know what to say. And then he just looked at me and he put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, I'm so sorry.
But confusion has its perks.
You could call any restaurant in Manhattan and say, I'm making a reservation for, Bill de Blasio. And sometimes they'd say to my wife, are you calling from the mayor's office? And my wife would just say, I'd rather not say. A couple of times I had to show my driver's license to show that I was Bill de Blasio.
So sometimes it works. De Blasio of Huntington points out he had the name first. The former mayor was born Warren Wilhelm Jr. and changed it later on. First tips. Thanks for watching CBS News New York at 5. I'm Dick Brennan. The news at 6 starts right now.